Hey, what's going on? My name is Jacorian, and thank you for tuning in to Jacorian's View. Today's topic is addiction. It's a touchy subject to talk about, but it's an important conversation that I think we need to have. So, just starting off, just a little bit of background. I'm sure most of you know what fentanyl is, but if you happen to not, fentanyl is it's an opioid. It's a drug. It's used, as a painkiller. A little science behind it. So essentially, how it works is it binds to opioid receptors in your brain, and it blocks pain, pain signals from your central nervous system. So it's just it's a painkiller, but it's an extremely strong painkiller. You know, it's almost, I think the number is around 80 times stronger than morphine, which is another painkiller. It's extremely addictive, and it is extremely abundant. It's within the recent years, it's everywhere. It's at every corner, every street, every city, every state. It is everywhere in America, and it's really an epidemic. It's something that as a state, as a country, we're fighting. And it starts locally, starts in communities, starts in Caldwell County fighting. And it starts with conversations like this, conversations that are a little touchy, but we have to have these. Okay, so little information about our small town, Caldwell County. There's a program called Restart Caldwell, and they released a study back in 2024, and they concluded that there was an estimated, I think, around 146 overdose visits to the emergency department right around halfway through the year, about June or July. So you could imagine that number, is probably doubled by the end of that year, and every year it's continuously growing. The primary age group for Caldwell County was right around 21 to 36 years of age. So it's not necessarily a super young generation, but it's not old at all. That's in that generation. That's fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers. That's all types. Within that age group, that's affected by that. So, yeah, exactly. You might say that Caldwell County is a small place. So it definitely is. It's a small town compared to a lot of towns around us and towns in the state. But specifically talking about fentanyl and the opioid crisis, it's rapid. It's everywhere, and it's continuously growing. It's getting worse. The drugs that are on our streets are worse. The environment that we put our kids into are worse. The environment that we're living in is worse, and it's a true epidemic that we have to start fighting. If we don't, it's going to overtake, our community. It's going to overtake the things that we value to us, the things that we come home to. So, so I talked a little bit about, just stats and a little bit of things, about our actual community, but I wanted to share with the audience, just a personal testimony, a personal, account for me, and kind of where I'm at and things that I've seen and how I feel. So get right into that. Addiction I think it's kind of a misconstrued subject. It's not. A lot of people got the wrong idea about it. It doesn't just start from one day automatically. You're just addicted. You take something once. Oh, okay, now I'm just addicted. Now that's just a crackhead. That's just an addiction. That's not how that works. It starts out from. I don't know. It's just, let's say, for example, let me give you a scenario. Starts out with, hanging out with your friends, and y'all kicking, y'all cooling, and after a while, somebody got some weed on them, and they say, "Hey, man, try this, hit this, man," and you do, and you feel good for that hour or so, and it feels good, no problem. It's just a plant, man, ain't no problem. What could happen, right? You try it, then, let's say the next weekend rolls around, you do the same thing. Then after a few weekends, instead of just being the weekend, you turn into a daily thing that you do on a daily basis, and you smoking every day. Big deal, right? It's weed, right? Well, eventually your body starts getting immune to that, and the effects that it had continue and get to the next party, and somebody got a little, say they got a little pill, right? And they walk up to you and they say, "Hey man, just try this to make you feel real good. That weed, man, it ain't nothing compared to this. It ain't nothing compared to this, right? You try it and you feel euphoric. You feel amazing. For that moment, you feel invincible, and you realize that you can escape everything, all your realities, all your stresses, all your worries, all your bills, all your assignments you got to do, all just everything you got to stress about. You can let go of for that couple hours, and you start to yearn for that, you know. And after a while, instead of it being just a weekend thing to get away from all the trauma and stress that you may be dealing with, it becomes a daily thing, and that daily thing slowly becomes an addiction. And I say slow, but I want to put quotations around that. Really, it's extremely fast. It seems slow around you. It seems slow to you. You would not notice it as fast. You wouldn't really understand how quick it could take over your life. But to others around you, they would. It would be. Within the blink of an eye, you can start an addiction and become fully addicted to something without even noticing it. And from what started with just a fun little adventure to try something different, to try something new, it could become a life of hurt, a life of pain, a life of just misery, for not only you but for the people around you. And a lot of people don't realize that when you get into when you become addicted, and that's a very strong word, but just using it for today. When you become addicted to something, you don't affect just yourself. Yes, you do affect yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. In every possible way, you affect yourself and you're harming yourself. But you also affect, the ones around you, the ones that love you the most, that care for you the most, that want the best for you. You completely affect those, and I was one of those people. I wasn't addicted to anything, but I was a loved one that had to watch it. And I had to watch the people that I care for the most and love and had memories with and laughs and jokes and share food with and just been the closest with. I had to watch them suffer and fight a battle that, one, I could not understand, but two, I could not help. I was helpless. I'm just sitting in the void watching as the people that I love dearly and hold dearly to me are decaying right in front of me. And it's things like that I'll never necessarily forget about. I will never let go. Still to this day, I still feel those emotions. I still feel those feelings that I felt. Um, it's an extremely hard thing to deal with. And it affects a lot more than you would expect, a lot more than people would ever understand. But luckily, or God willingly, I should actually say, I was blessed to actually see the recovery, to see those people get clean, to watch them regain their life and watch them regain their independence, and I was just able to see that happen. But I ask you, what about the people that don't? What about the people that don't get that opportunity to watch their mother, father, brother, uncle, whoever, get that back? What about the people that, for lack of better words, end up dead, end up without that opportunity? What about those? That's the question that I want to have on your mind is what are we going to do about that? We always think about our recovery story. We always think about, oh man, I'll get clean eventually. I'll put it down eventually. I'll stop doing that eventually. But what if there isn't that eventually? What if you don't get that? What if you end up, some individuals take something, take an opioid, take a drug, and it physically flips them mentally. The chemical imbalances in their brain are off from that drug, and they never can recover. And that leaves them with all types of mental issues. It could be physical issues as well. You could paralyze yourself. You could do multiple things. You can end up with mental issues like schizophrenia and things of that nature that you can never recover from, or you can put yourself in almost a vegetative state from drug abuse. So it's one of the things that we have to figure out as a country. We have to. So that all being said, I got somebody today that I want to introduce that I think can add a lot to this podcast, can add a lot to this episode, and can share a lot of knowledge about recovery and about addiction. So I want you to just touch on how you became addicted and your story, your testimony, just to give them a good idea of what it's like and the life that you can lead from those decisions.
Hello, audience. My name is Corey, and I'm a recovering addict. I think with my story, it was a special case. I actually had a motorcycle accident, and I think through that process, you know what I'm saying, I realized one thing as being in the hospital that I was escaping from my reality, but I didn't realize what was taking me there. I didn't understand what they were giving me that was taking me there. Um, but I quickly learned that I was taking a opioid that allowed me to forget a lot of my trauma. As I came up, things that you know when you're living in a world of masculinity, when you're living in a world of Movado, as a man, you can't show weakness or you can't show that you want to talk about something, so you have to stuff it. Literally, you have to stuff it as a man. So I couldn't go to my family members and say, "Hey, I feel like this today," or "I felt like this," whatever. Whenever I seen whatever I went through at the time I seen it, I just had to stuff it, and what it did, it caused a lot of pain inside, and didn't realize quickly that a lot of times I needed to escape from that pain, but I didn't know how to. So I think once I found something that allowed me to escape, not only did I escape, but I took it to a whole different type of high because I needed to feel that every day. Because a lot of those issues that I stuffed was on my mind and I had to keep inside, and I couldn't, like I said, just go to anyone. So that was me forgetting all the trauma that I've been through in my lifetime. And quickly, once I got out of the hospital, um, realized that the doctors was kind of like taping me down, and so I was going to different doctors trying to get what I needed, and they realized that maybe this guy's addicted, you know what I'm saying? So they started cutting me down, but I realized that this stuff was in the streets as well, so I took it to that level and went out and started purchasing behind closed doors. And what that caused was it caused my addiction to grow. It caused my addiction to manifest into someone that I wasn't. And before I know it, my life was unmanageable. And to deny, to sit and say my life is unmanageable, I didn't want to believe that. So I was in denial as well. I still thought I was thriving as a human being. My life was comfortable. I was just partying. But the people that I loved that was around me were seeing the destruction, the debacle, right? And so to all be said, I tried rehab for the first time, but I did it for the ones that love me. I didn't do it for me. So that was me going into rehab, not giving my all, not giving 100%, because I wanted to appease the ones that love me. Okay, look at him, all right, he's trying to get better, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get off his back. I'm going to stop, asking him different questions and pushing him to do something different. So I went, but I didn't give my all. And, they say once you come back the second time, you go even harder. And that's what happened. That's what I did. I actually started just living life 150 miles an hour. I was just partying nonstop, and it became not just a party thing. My body started to depend on this particular drug, and once I started to have those type of feelings, then there was nothing that was gonna stop me to feel better. There was nothing that was gonna stand in front of me to make me feel better. Yeah, and that was another scenario. That was something that was causing me to lose not only my moral compass, but the standards that I lived by before I became addicted. Right, I became somebody else, and my family members, they didn't recognize me. The people that really cared, I stepped on and stumbled and ignored them as if like that didn't mean anything to me. Um, and every addict's got to hit some type of bottom, right? And it's different for everyone. But for myself, what landed me back in rehab again was an overdose, and not only just one, it was two. And the funny thing about it is the addiction becomes so dependable that you don't even realize the first time that I had an overdose, actually, I went right back to doing what I was doing that caused the overdose. Like immediately afterwards. That's insanity, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think the second one that I had, and when I came out of that overdose, something happened, something sparked, and it was me hitting my bottom because at this point, not only have I lost everything, I'm saying that meant anything to me. I thought of something. I don't know. It had to be the God of my understanding, but it was legacy, right? And I thought, what type of legacy am I gonna leave my kids, right? Like, if I die right now, what are my kids gonna say? You know what I mean? My dad died of an overdose, and that hurt me when I thought of that. But even then, it wasn't even about them. At that point, I can remember the mother of my kids telling me, "Hey, it's not gonna be me that's gonna take you from your kids. It's gonna be them taking themselves out of your life. You're gonna do this. It's not gonna be me." That hurt me as well. And then I realized, you know what? What's most important is me. If I get clean, then everybody else that's around me that love me can prosper, especially my kids, because all I did was a invisible act the whole time. Thought I was present, but I wasn't. And then at the point of no return, and then it dawned on me that get myself together first, then they can benefit from me being clean. And that's just a little snippet of my recovery and how I went down that dark road. And I'm here now, because I had to do some of the necessary steps that it took, to recover.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Hope y'all can get a good understanding from that. Just a little bit of what it's like, the life that you can lead from that. Um, so to kind of close off and kind of wrap this whole episode up, I want to kind of touch on a solution. A lot of times we focus on the problem. We focus on the things that we may not be able to fix right now, or we don't know how to, or we just we're just too stuck on the fact that the situation that we're in versus worrying about how to get out of the situation. So I want to talk a little bit about solutions, and I think the best solution specifically for Caldwell County is recovery homes. We actually don't have very many at all, and if we do, I don't think they do a great job at all at actually recovering these addicts. Because at the end of the day, these addicts are not they're not inanimate objects. They're people. They take care. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of professionalism. There needs to be professionals involved. And I think as a whole, as an entire community, we can do a lot better at that. And I think that's the best way that we're going to be able to fight this epidemic that we're facing. Because it's epidemic. I mean, it really is something that is widespread. You know what I mean? Just like COVID, you know, something started small, but ended up being worldwide. That's how this fentanyl is. Started small, started being produced in various areas, China and Indonesia, wherever, and now it's just being imported through all of our borders. Our northern Canada, southern Mexico. I mean, just overseas, everywhere, and it's even affecting our small town of Caldwell County. So I think that's definitely going to be our best solution is recovery homes. And now I'm gonna turn back to my father to expand a little bit on how recovery homes helped him.
First came out of rehab, and granted, the first time that I came out of rehab, I went back to what I knew, and slowly but surely, I ended up in the same situation before I left. So that being said, like I had and I think what was pivotal and what was instrumental for me was is gathering a plan. And I talked to a recovery home, which I had no idea what entailed, but I talked to the coordinator there, and he kind of gave me the gist of what it was about. But they didn't accept me right at that moment. It wasn't like, okay, I want to come there. Okay, you're more than welcome to come here. No, it was some hoops and bounds and some leaps that I had to jump to actually be accepted. And once I was accepted, I quickly realized that this place was structured. And what I mean structured was like, it wasn't me just going in and just doing whatever I wanted to do. No, everything that was set in place at the time I didn't know, but I know today was going to benefit me to recovering, because this is the key to what we start to realize once we get clean is that we cause all of these behaviors in the middle of addiction. Um, Untouched behaviors, things that you had to do to get what you needed to get high, right? And granted, you might not have been this person before addiction, but you became this person. So once you get clean, you realize you stuck with a person that you don't know. That being said, now I have to start the journey to start my identity again, to learn who I really am. And that's what this particular place was for. It provided structure. So, for example, it was a certain time that I had to be in. Not only just that, there was counselors in place to counsel. There were men in place to actually talk to. You had to have a job, and they gave you 15, 20 days to get a job. And these things were set in place to start to acclimate yourself back into society as a responsible human being. There was a budget manager there. So when you did get a job, you learned how to budget your money. There was an art class there. And see, this is the thing. When you're in addiction, your mind's running 100 miles an hour because you're constantly running, trying to get exactly what you need to feel better. And once you stop using drugs, your mind's still running. So what do you do? How do you sit with yourself when your mind is still running? So I started taking this art class. It was unnecessary at the time when I started taking, like, what am I doing this for? Like, what's the purpose of all this? I don't like drawing, but what I quickly realized was that the drawing started to slow my mind down. It started to allow me to process, because I couldn't process when I first got clean. My mind was still racing. So I started to slow down, started to process, started to realize that, you know what, this is necessary. And I started to enjoy that class. Once I got a job, you have to pay rent. Doing addiction, you're not paying rent. You're not. Only thing you care about is paying the person that you need to pay to get what you need to get. You don't care about anything else, or if anybody else is suffering, or if your kids got milk in the fridge. You don't care about none of that. You're trying to get to what you need. And Once you get a job there, you have to start paying your rent. So what it's called is accountability. You got to start being accountable, and those things these are the things that you need to start to become acclimated back, send it to society. You know what I mean? Being responsible, being able to manage your money, being able to be a good father, provide, put food on the table. So at this place we had to cook, and then on top of that, you had to start earning a day out. You had to earn a weekend out, and these are the things that was necessary in my recovery. Not only just that, there was an in-house NA meeting every night. Every night, there was an NA meeting that you had to attend, whether you wanted to or not. And at the beginning of these NA meetings, as a new beginner, you don't want to be there. You don't care what they're talking about, but eventually you go enough times, repetition. You go enough times, you start to hear something that might resonate with you. But I think what was most impactful in my life, and I go backwards for a second, talking about as a kid, I was able to talk to another man, and I was taught these behaviors because talking to another man showed weakness. And you have these men that are in your life in this particular house that come there that have the same experience that you've went through. Might be different, but these are addicts that are living clean, that have 15, 20 years clean, and the main thing was no one was going to judge you. No one was going to judge you for whatever you might have done doing all of this, and you're capable of being vulnerable. So I learned today, vulnerability only builds, only builds a character up versus tearing them down. Being able to be vulnerable is a sign, of strength. It ain't just a weakness. It's something that you're able to sit down with another grown man and talk about and leave feeling empowered for the simple fact you don't have to make a decision to say, you know what, to cover all this up, I want to go get high. Nah, you just release that to another man. So I think that would be a wonderful idea for, Caldwell County to implement these homes and structure them in a way to where it's benefiting, the addict, to help him. Because you're just placing rehabs in the area and not putting no recovery behind it. Because the most important thing is it's easy to get clean. It's easy to get clean. Learning who you are is the hard part, because you've accustomed so many different identities. You might have had 4 or 5 different personalities in addiction, and you're left with them when you're clean. And today it's like, okay, I need to find out who I am. And this place will give you the instruments, give you the tools that you need to grow. And I think, like I said, he talked about professionalism. These are clinicians. These are people who have 4-year degrees, bachelors, that are coming in. These ain't just your everyday people. You have peer support specialists that are coming in. These are the things that this county needs in order to, and granted, it might not work for everyone, but if you're starting the pathway of grabbing 1, 2, or 3 that might gravitate towards that, I need help, and I want to be able, to live my life comfortably when I get out of, when I get out of this recovery home. And granted, you have to keep this up. Once you get out of recovery, once you get out of these recovery homes, you still have to keep these mannerisms up, and you still have to go to these NA meetings. So this ain't over. This is a lifetime of commitment. And I just wanted to say, son, thank you for allowing me to share what's not only important to me, but it's important to you. And today I'm able to give and be presentable and support you in whatever fashion that's, available. But at the same time, you're helping someone, and you're helping, a county that you live in, that you see suffer, and you've suffered firsthand. And I'm grateful. Thank you.
Appreciate that, pops. Appreciate the vulnerability to be able to talk about that and the emotional strength that it takes to acknowledge your wrongdoings, acknowledge where you've been, and accept where you're going. You know, it's important. Um, and so I want to conclude. I want to I want to thank the audience. I want to thank viewers for coming out watching us, and listening to what we got to say and our testimonies. And I hope that you from this podcast can take away a lot. And I hope that this podcast is a stepping stone to just overall empowering and bettering our community and bettering ourselves. This is not going to fix it. Just talking to a camera with the mic is not going to fix it, it's a like I said, it's a stepping stone. It's a tool that we can use to start growing, to start making progress. So I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for allowing me to have this platform.